Hi gamers! I first showed my Sega Dreamcast collection way back in 2009 when I first started doing YouTube videos, so it was high time to take a little revisit here on my Dreamcast games. I really love the console. It's a real shame that it had to go as early as it went, and Sega out of the console manufacturing business, but there were tons and tons of really essential exclusives back in the day. After Sega went multi-platform, many of these exclusives were released on other platforms as well, but there are still a couple of true gems on the Dreamcast that can only be experienced on this machine, and even so, I really like the aesthetics of the Dreamcast games. Many of these were pretty much straight ports from the Sega's Naomi arcade hardware, and as such have really clean visuals, and I really like the sleek look and high frame rate and everything about Dreamcast games. There are plenty of, like I said, plenty of arcade ports here, but many really polished home console games as well that were developed just for the Dreamcast. But still a really nice selection of games all around. Let's check out what I have here. Sorry, I have to focus the camera here. Let's keep it at that. Deadly Skies. Plenty of arcade racers on the Dreamcast as well. F355 Challenge, Passione Rosa, Aerowings 2 Airstrike, one of my favorite puzzle games ever, Chuchu Rocket. This is really fun puzzle game, and just a hectic fun with 4 players. But there's a pretty extensive puzzle mode here, where there's lots of things to do, even if you're one player. And this also included the Dream Key 1.5, which was a web browser basically, or internet software here. Also got one Chuchu Rocket still sealed. Crazy Taxi, really fun arcade driving game where you pick up taxi passengers and try to get them to from point A to B as fast as possible, and you get extra money for doing crazy stuff in the meantime. There's also a sequel on the Dreamcast, Crazy Taxi 2. Then my first Japanese game here, El Dorado Gate Volume 2. This was from Capcom, an RPG, a 2D graphics, really gorgeous stuff here. And this was basically a larger game that was, I think, was split up into smaller sections and sold for a cheaper price per volume. So a little bit of a different concept here for Japanese RPGs. Instead of having one huge game, Capcom decided to release it in different volumes. Half-Life. And now I know what you're thinking or saying there. Half-Life wasn't released on the Dreamcast, and you're right, it wasn't. This one is actually my only burned, pirated game, so to say. It's just a blank CD here that I put inside an authentic case and printed out these inserts. And yeah, Half-Life was a totally finished game that they made for the Dreamcast, but for some reason they never released it. And as such, I gave myself the permission to have this as a burnt copy, because the authentic game doesn't exist. So, but this is still a really nice curiosity to have on the Dreamcast. It was so finished here that there's actually a little, advertising pamphlet here alongside other games. They're advertising Half-Life, and it was actually so finished that they manufactured the official strategy guides for the game. You can actually buy them off of eBay. Half-Life for Dreamcast strategy guide. So that's really curious why they thought that they couldn't make their money back when they've done all the work before that. So I really had hope that they would have released the game even in limited quantities. They couldn't have lost more money than they did now, but still a nice little curiosity to have on a Dreamcast. Hidden Dangerous, another PC classic. And possibly my favorite light gun game, The House of the Dead 2. And I do have 2 of the official Sega light guns. Really a nicely designed shooter, like the enemy placements here, and but one thing that really sets this game apart from other light gun shooters, or any other game for that matter, is that this has hilarious voice acting. It's possibly the worst voice acting and dialogue in any game ever. You really have to check out a video of this, but it's it's something else. Jet Set Radio, probably for the longest time was one of the biggest reasons to own a Dreamcast. There was a sequel on the Xbox, Jet Set Radio Future, but this is a different game. It wasn't a remake or anything on the Xbox. This is where it all started, one of the first cel-shaded games, and a really striking graphical look here. Fantastic soundtrack, really revered among aficionados of this kind of music, and really fast-paced and really thought out gameplay, with you roller skating around huge cities and grinding up rails and stuff like that. Really a fantastic game. Also have a second copy here, still sealed. After Sega discontinued the Dreamcast, there were several games released for it even after that, and but as time went on, the releases got a bit scarcer, but as they still made games for the Naomi arcade board, and it was really easy to port them over to the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast continued to have several releases even up to the year 2007. And here is actually, I believe, the last official game that was released for the Dreamcast, Carouse. These were basically all of these last games were 2D shooters. This one is a vertical shooter, not one of the best, actually a pretty mediocre shooter at that. So they could have picked a better swan song for the Dreamcast, but can't complain when you get games like this in 2007, when the console itself has been discontinued in 2001. And as you can see, these final games came in these standard DVD cases. This is a Sega Direct edition, which doesn't really have anything too special here, except for a phone card. Yeah, very Japanese. Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver. Pen, which I think was one of the launch games, at least in Europe, not sure. Basically it's a racing game with animals. Then a true classic, Phantasy Star Online, and also here is the revised Phantasy Star Online version 2, not to be mixed up with Phantasy Star Online episodes 1 and 2 that came out on the GameCube later on. The episode 2 was not seen on the Dreamcast, but yeah, Phantasy Star Online, one of the very first, if not the first, console online RPG. It's a really charming game. At that, I really like there's just a really nice atmosphere when you go down to the planet, and all the characters and the special enemies, the bosses, which there's the content-wise, this isn't really one of the biggest games, biggest RPGs around. You are grinding out the same levels and bosses a lot, but it's still fun. I mainly played this, exclusively played this on the GameCube later on. I didn't experience this on the Dreamcast, but I do appreciate how important game this was. A true classic on the Dreamcast. Another online game, well, not really much of a game, as I think it was like a virtual amusement park, basically a way to people to connect over the web. And this actually came with the Dreamcast microphone, so you could talk over the internet with people while visiting the planet ring here. This is still sealed. Nothing. You can't really use this these days. Another late shooter came out, I think, a couple of years after the end of the Dreamcast, Radigy, and this is a Sega Direct edition as well, and this one also has a phone card. Let's see if I can find that here. So yeah, there you go. Quite a common thing for for them to include in Japanese games of this era, these phone cards. Radigy, again, not really one of my favorite shooters on the Dreamcast, but still a cool cel-shaded shooter, so something a bit different. Again, a vertical shooter, this one as well, as most shooters were, but there were a couple of horizontal shooters as well, like Border Down, which I'm actually missing from this collection still. I did own it for the Naomi as an original copy, as I did Ikaruga as well, but ever since I sold my Naomis, I haven't bought back Border Down and Ikaruga yet, but they're definitely coming back to my Dreamcast collection. Rayman 2, The Great Escape. A nice version of one of the best Rayman games, well, 3D Rayman games, for sure. Ready to Rumble Boxing Round 2. Resident Evil Code Veronica, and there was also, I also have here the limited edition of the Japanese version, Biohazard Code Veronica. This was the first Resident Evil game to not feature the pre-rendered backgrounds, so this was a full-on three-dimensional game, and as such it didn't have as much atmosphere than the previous games, but it is still a fantastic Resident Evil game. Pretty much the last one of the last, I guess, after the Resident Evil 0 was the last, but one of the last old school Resident Evils before the series became, all out action. but still, this is a good old Resident Evil here. Definitely check it out. Also available on the GameCube and PlayStation 2. Next up, one of my favorite games on the Dreamcast, Rez. This is an on-rails shooter, and this was pretty much one of the coolest things that you could play on the Dreamcast. It was later ported to the PlayStation 2 and it was also released on the Xbox 360, so it has lost some of its magic, I guess, with that not being a Dreamcast exclusive anymore, but still it's a fantastic shooter, one of the best soundtracks ever in any game. Really cool techno soundtrack that really ties itself with the game, and the keyword here is synesthesia, which is, I guess, melding of the senses, visual, audio, and also the vibrations of the controller all came together as one. Really cool game. You really have to experience Rez if you haven't. Seaman, one of the craziest games on the Dreamcast, one of the most unique, and it's really a miracle that this was released in the US as well. Sadly, no, not in Europe, but so that this got an English release is really a great thing. Basically, this is a simulator. You have, no pictures here. You have eggs of this seaman creature in your water tank, and you have a microphone. You can talk to it. You have to nurture it to life first. You have to remember to feed it and talk to it, and it starts talking back to you with the voice of Leonard Nimoy. I'm not making this one up. Really a unique thing. Basically a fish with a head of a human, or face of a human. Really something. And this is only available on Dreamcast, so one of the more peculiar reasons to own the console these days. Sega Rally 2, one of the best rally games or racing games in general ever. Then Shenmue 2, Shenmue 1 and Shenmue 2. What can I say about these games that hasn't been said before? The first game is still exclusive to the Dreamcast, and I would say that this is the biggest reason to own the console. Full stop. The second game was ported over to the Xbox, and that version also included a feature-length movie of the events of the first game. But if you want to play the game, you have to do it on the Dreamcast. This was a hugely hyped up game back in the day, and for the most part it really delivered on the hype. This is almost like a life simulator. Well, not really that varied, but you could do a lot here. It was really something that you were able to open up the closets and cupboards in your house, and you went to the town. You could buy almost anything and go to the arcades, play some classic Sega games, and you had to get a job, and you had only a limited amount of money, and this is a great simulator, and it was a great freedom that you couldn't really experience in any game back in the day. Really ambitious game project. Really expensive. These were the most expensive games ever made back in the day, and I guess that's the reason that they never made the third game. But here's hoping that they will still get the chance. So hopefully somebody or some company will help Yu Suzuki with this or even Sega. Not sure where the rights of the game currently are. After there were some trademark issues as well, but hopefully Shenmue 3 gets made and we'll all know how the saga ends here. But yeah, really ambitious games. The fighting system is straight pulled from Virtua Fighter, so really top-notch stuff. The fights, and this game was one of the first, if not the first, games to feature quick-time events, and these were actually, the name quick-time event comes from Shenmue. If you're wondering what that term is when they're talking about it in I don't know, God of War or any other such game that has this, so Shenmue invented them. And then another vertical shooter from Japan. This is Shikigami no Shiro 2, and this is the limited edition, which includes a soundtrack CD here. Really a unique theme here, basically. I'm not sure, flying witches or something like that. So not your standard spaceships here. Lots of characters that you can choose from, which all have different bullet patterns and lots of variety. So a bit of a different shoot 'em up. I guess we could talk about this one here next. So this big box here is Sega Gaga. This is the limited edition, and Sega Gaga was basically a Sega simulation. I think you were the head of Sega, and trying to fight to gain market share again. And this was quite an ironic game. I think this was greenlit well before Sega decided to drop out of the console race, but this was released after that they had announced that the Dreamcast is being discontinued and there won't be any other consoles, so quite a fitting end to Sega as a first party game developer. And lots of a really crazy game, lots of different genres, and every single Sega character ever is in this game, and it's a really a fun little game for Sega to have. Plenty of irony here, like I said, and they don't take themselves too seriously. So gotta give it to Sega for developing a game like Sega Gaga. Then, one of my favorite games on Dreamcast, Skies of Arcadia. One of my favorite Japanese RPGs ever. Basically the fighting is the main event here. There are two kinds of fights. Either you're fighting with your normal characters, in which it's basically any other JRPG, but what's really sets this apart is the ship battles, flying airships, and those are really unique. You're fighting other ships or bigger enemies, giants, and quite this unique system where you have to anticipate the other moves and charge your cannons for several turns and then let it rip. And there's a great sense of epicness, great epic battles here on the air. But quite a unique environments as well. Everything here are like islands floating in the sky. And there's a really nice sense of scale when you're trying to find new places in the game world, and really just great freedom. You also have the ability or the options to boost up your home base, and that's great fun, and trying to tune up your airship to make it more efficient in combat. Really a fantastic game. I like Skies of Arcadia a lot. was also released later on the GameCube. And I also have here the limited box of Skies of Arcadia. Picked this one up when I visited Tokyo about a year ago. Nice package to have. So, last row of games here, or pile of games here. Sonic Adventure, and I guess Sonic Adventure 2 as well. Yeah, poor Sonic. He really hasn't been the same ever since he started appearing in 3D games. Yeah, Sonic Adventure definitely had it was a gorgeous game. It was one of the main reasons to own a Dreamcast. It was really light years ahead of the PlayStation and even the Nintendo 64. Very clean, crisp visuals and lots of speed again. But it's the camera and the controls that have been the downfall of Sonic in his 3D adventures. Still essential games if you own a Dreamcast, but nowhere near one of the best 3D platformers, sadly. Also have here the 10th anniversary of Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic Adventure 2, the birthday pack, which includes soundtrack and other stuff as well. A pretty cool package. Soul Calibur. Basically the same thing as with Sonic Adventure. This was one of the visually more striking games and one of the better games to show your friends if you had a Dreamcast. Wanted to make them green with envy. This actually still looks quite nice. Silky smooth frame rate and really crisp arcade visuals and really nice content for the single player as well. Lots of stuff to unlock. Tokyo Highway Challenge 2. Tomb Raider, The Last Revelation. Then we have Trigger Heart Exelica. This is the Sega Direct Limited Edition, which includes a soundtrack CD. And this, right before Corrosive, this was the second to last release on the Dreamcast. Again, a vertical shooter. As was this one as well, we have Tri-Zeal, and this special edition included a soundtrack CD and this bandana as well. So, a part of a set, these. The Typing of the Dead, which is a really funny concept for a game. Basically, this is the exact same game as the House of the Dead 2, the same graphics and same zombies and the same bosses, but instead of shooting them with your light gun, you're typing out words that are flying towards you or are attached to the zombies that are shambling towards you, and you have to type out the word on your Dreamcast keyboard, and then the zombie gets shot when you finish the word. So quite a unique. I'm not actually sure. There have been other games since, but not sure if this was the first of its kind. But still quite a unique game. Nonetheless, great fun. Then possibly my favorite Sega Dreamcast shoot 'em up. This was the third to last official Dreamcast game. Came out in 2006, Under Defeat. Again, a vertical shooter, but instead of spaceships, which is the weapon of choice, usually you have these helicopters, and this more realistic setting here, you're shooting tanks on the ground or battleships, stuff like that. And this looks gorgeous. I really have to hand it to G.Rev, the developers of the game, that they really pushed the envelope with Naomi and Dreamcast. This is absolutely fantastic. Really great explosions, and the smoke reacts to the explosions as well. And every single bullet that you shoot also has. You get an empty shell flying out of your helicopter, and the attention to detail is really fantastic. Great music here as well, and yeah, one of my favorite shoot 'em ups ever. Virtua Fighter 3 TB, or Tournament Battle. Virtua Fighter being, of course, Sega's one of Sega's biggest franchises and premier arcade series. And yeah, this is a really great port of Virtua Fighter 3 from the arcades. And Virtua Fighter, differentiates itself from the other fighting games by taking things quite slowly. It's not really a fast-paced game, and there are no fireballs or something crazy like that. It's more like throws and stuff like that, and you really have to think about when to throw your punch so that it connects. And one great thing is that there were environments here that were on different levels, like the rooftop that was slanted, and if you're on the top of the roof and the other one is lower on the roof, you can actually miss your like high kick if the other is lower, so you really have to be mindful of your surroundings. And one final game here, V-Rally 2 Expert Edition. And that was it for my Sega Dreamcast game collection. Let's take a little zoom here. Love the system, and you should too. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.